I think you need to learn how to survive and figure out a way that will get you to have a very cohesive and healthy relationship with your bad boss.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Saved by Nobel. I'm your host, Dennis Nyanja.
And I'm your host, Vicky Ngetich.
In Saved by Nobel, we cover topics from class, from life, that is unique to this African life, quote unquote, and here everything that you need to be able to go through life as a young person, all the way to, young at heart, that is uniquely African.
Yes.
So we cover topics like finance, productivity, mentoring, those serious things that, get you by your hustle, but also, some topics that you're passionate about, like side hustles,
Yes.
how to make fuel at home, those very unique African things. We're going to cover it here. Yeah, very excited about today's show. What are we going to be talking about, Vicky?
Dennis, thanks for that introduction. So today we'll have a further conversation around personal board of directors, a subtopic under Nyimpini Mabunda's book, Take Charge. Before I introduce what we are talking about today, Dennis, what do you remember from our last episode?
Yeah, we talked about taking initiative to be able to manage relationships around friends, family, and peers. And I think we gave our audience the action to be able to start a list, whether on a document or an Excel.
Yes.
So I'm very excited about this week.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dennis, for that brief summary. So today we'll talk about a different category of personal board of directors. And today we'll talk about line managers and bosses, and also touch a bit on coaches and mentors. So to begin with, line managers and bosses, these are gatekeepers for our careers. Yeah. And I want us today to talk about the bosses that we've had, the leaders that or the line managers that we've had, their leadership styles, and how much they've contributed to our career growth. So for you, Dennis, could you give me an example or an experience with a line manager and how he or she impacted your career?
So I think there's something with recency that always brings things to mind. But I think I have been lucky, Vicky, first of all, to work in organizations that have 360 as one KPI for measuring performance.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's intentional or because they also wanted to do very well. I've had very good managers. Since I started out my career in a Big Four firm, moving on to this non-profit where we expanded 10x in the 7 years that I was there. And I was sort of part of that. I was very privileged to work with amazing human beings. And the one that made the most impact to me recently is my immediate former boss, who I actually got a chance to interview.
Oh, wow.
Have you ever interviewed your boss?
I've not interviewed, but I've done a 360-degree assessment of my boss.
So funny thing, Vicky, it's this American things. When you get an email and you're like, okay, you're in the panel to interview your boss, and I'm like, okay, all of these people, 10 people I'm talking to, I'm the one who decides who moves to the next stage. You know that power you get. So you're like, okay, you know what?
Yes.
This is what. So I had an opportunity to interview my boss, and I chose one.
Wow.
And that one was I chose two. I chose 2 out of the 10, and out of those 2, the one that I liked the most got the job.
Wow.
And fast forward, you know that I moved on to a new job.
Yes. Congrats, by the way.
I was interviewed for that job, and I remember we were 2 people who were at that stage, and the people who decided that I got the job were the people who are going to report to me. Now, why I am putting this out is your managers and how you manage your managers is as important as how they manage you.
Okay.
And the world is actually turning around in a sense where that relationship is actually now being measured, being considered to be very, very important. So why I digressed. I want to take you back to my story. When I interviewed my boss and when he got the job, one of the first things that we did is we had a conversation about how we're going to work together.
Okay.
And he said, Dennis, by the way, know that I'm going to leave in X time. And in X time, if you are ready, then you're going to take my job.
Okay.
If you're not ready, then that is your problem. Right?
Yes.
And so he instilled in me that mindset where my current workplace is not about me building empires, but it's more about me working for a mission and building a team that comes and takes over eventually. And that mindset has actually changed my perspective of things significantly. And because of that particular perspective, I would say my immediate former boss has had a very, very tremendous impact in terms of how I perceive life right now.
Wow, that is quite powerful, Dennis. I hope one day I get a chance to interview my boss. I think for me, I would say I've been privileged as well to have good line managers and bosses. And I'll speak about my very first line manager. She's called Anne. Shout out to you, Anne. And I've mentioned in previous episodes that I'm a medical lab scientist by profession, but I didn't get a chance to practice or work in a hospital setup because I happened to meet Anne, and then Anne introduced me into sales and marketing. She held my hand, showed me how to go about sales and marketing. And I would say I wouldn't call her a manager then. She was a team leader because she really held my hand, empowered me to be able to be independent in matters sales and marketing. My other line manager is my former boss, because he's left the company now. And he groomed me to be who I am now. And when he left the company, I was promoted into his position. So he basically groomed me. And even when I applied for an executive course at Harvard, he did write a reference letter for me to justify to Harvard why they should allow me to take the course. And I want to really thank my former boss because he was such a team leader. He led the team with empathy. He let us be. He didn't micromanage us. And I've learned so much from him. Even currently, as I lead my team, I apply a lot of his principles, his leadership style and principles in my current role as a team leader for East Africa. Yes.
Now you've mentioned bosses. How do they form part of our board of directors?
Yes. So your line managers and your bosses, remember you need to have a very good working relationship with them. Even I'm sure in your CV, sometimes as you apply for another job, they always want to know who have you been reporting to and how has that relationship been. So for them to form part of your personal board of directors, you need to have a very healthy working relationship with your boss. Identify what you need to do to ensure that you have that healthy relationship with your bosses. So I think, Dennis, what to answer your question is, once, of course, you can always have a boss, one boss at a time. So always make sure that you have a very good working relationship, mutual respect, so that you add value to each other. Yes.
I think what I've been trying to do is, and I think I need to go and revisit this article. I once read this article about managing up.
Okay.
As a very intentional thing that you do. And I remember, and actually say it. One glimpse of managing up that I saw very early is around I say, I worked in a Big Four, right? And for those of you who know, the way Big Fours work is that you have this hierarchical system where the partner is
yes,
the most important person.
Yes.
Right? And so I remember one of the things that I really saw is one particular manager of mine be very good at managing up.
Okay.
Like I was in a meeting, I think I'd made a mistake. And he walked into the room because back then, you would give me the leeway to go and talk directly to the partner. So just keep one level. So I'd made a mistake. And just when I was about to get some roasting, he walked into the room and was like, by the way, boss, I have seen that email, and what I've done is I've done ABCD, and Dennis actually did it in this particular context. And do not worry, X and Y, you know, when you see something is about to explode, and then somebody has come with 3 steps ahead of their boss, maybe, so go and look for, managing app. It is a skill in itself.
Okay.
To manage app.
Okay. So I think I really like that, Dennis, and that sort of relates to having a sponsor in the company, someone who can always put in a good word for you in your absence. And they say major decisions about you are always made in your absence. So always ensure to have a sponsor or have a very good relationship with your bosses, so that they can put in a word for you when you are absent or whenever there's need for it.
Vicky, before we move on from that, what if you just have a terrible boss? This is a bad person. Sometimes we just have bad people. We've been lucky.
Yes.
We've been lucky that life has, but you might just have a bad person.
I think you just you need to learn how to survive and figure out a way that will get you to have a very cohesive and healthy relationship with your bad boss. Like, you can't do without your boss, Daddy. So you just have to figure out a way that will work for both of you. That's my opinion. What do you think?
I think these are those prayer items. But as I said, you won't be the first person in the world to go through that particular experience. What I've actually learned is separating the person from the job to be done is actually very important. And sometimes you get people who are in leadership positions and they are quote unquote bad from your perspective because you're judging them as a person, but the organization has judged them to be good for that because they get the job done. And so really identifying the common areas. And sometimes when you have bad bosses, you say, okay, my fate is sealed, I have a bad boss, right? But this is about taking charge.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so intentionally taking charge of that relationship and saying, okay, I identify that we are not seeing in terms of these particular things. However, I want to be able to take charge of the things where we have in common and excel at them. Chances are high that if there are bad boss to you, there are bad boss to a couple of other people. And those bad bosses who are bad to a couple of other people like to stay with the people who take charge of, So by you taking initiative, like, okay, that one has initiative.
Yes.
Let me stay with them as opposed to all these other people who don't, So if you're really deliberate about that relationship, then you should really be able to stay ahead. But of course, people leave work for bosses, not work, right?
Yes.
And so if don't compromise.
Yes, absolutely.
Don't never compromise.
Yeah, your mental peace is more important. And thanks for that, Dennis. And I think that takes us to the other category of personal board of directors, who is coaches and mentors. And some of the time, or most instances, you'll find that either your boss is also your mentor because you're pretty much in the same industry. And at one point or another, you'd want to get to his level. Being at mid-level of our careers, we need to constantly have an appetite for continuous learning, and feedback and appraisal and critique plays a huge role when it comes to personal growth and development. So, Dennis, do you have a mentor? Do you have a coach? And what role have they played in your life?
Yeah, I do. Let me take that back. I used to have a mentor.
Okay.
But I know we talked about this earlier this year. And so I'm becoming rather intentional about the study of this mentorship relationship. Actually, between when I first heard about Mpini's book and brought up this particular topic, and today, I met one of my mentors from a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And so that's actually a positive. Now, yes, my answer is, do I have mentors? I used to have mentors, but it is work in progress.
Okay, great. I like that you have a mentor. I think I would encourage our audience to get a mentor for themselves. For me, I would say 7 years ago, I had a mentor, but I didn't know it was a mentor because I had just started career in sales and marketing. I met this lady who really held my hand, showed me how to groom myself, how to interact with people, and how to present myself in front of customers and clients. And sitting back and reflecting right now, I realize she's been a mentor and she's played a huge role in me getting to where I am right now. 4 years ago, I became very intentional in identifying a mentor and someone that I want to be where they are in my line of career. And I would say I have so many mentors, but one of them is a lady called Carol Banks. She's an author for a book called Ethical Leadership. The reason why I mentioned Carol is because she has achieved so much at her age, and she's been in the same industry as myself. Medical device, leading a similar territory, East Africa. And I believe I can learn so much from her and even be able to springboard my career in the next couple of years. So she's really playing a huge role right now in terms of mentoring me, guide me the kind of books I need to read, the kind of people I need to interact with, and what I need to do to get to that level of my career. So yeah, I think that's a mentor that I have. I know we also spoke about coaches, Dennis, and I know there's a difference between coaches and mentors. Do you want to differentiate to our audience?
Yeah, well, they watch sports. And right now, actually, there's a game that I need to go and watch. When I think about a coach, a coach is, and this is something very unique, Vicky. A coach comes to you because you have potential. Right? You have potential, and their work is to unlock that potential from you. A mentor is somebody you go to because you believe you have potential.
Yes.
Right? and I'd like to say coaches are people who you say your mentor was, you did not know they were a mentor. Maybe they did not know as well. They're just sharing some things, but now coaches have the skill. I believe they have the skill to be able to now, start getting you into that direction.
Yes.
They tell you now, do this. Okay, they don't tell you. They get it from you to do this and do that and do that. So they are pretty much very close by. But I know one comes with a lot of intentionality and specialization.
Yeah, I like your differentiation between a mentor and a coach. And I think to our audience, sometimes your coach may not be your mentor, and your mentor may not be your coach, because your mentor is someone who is at a certain level in their career and you want to get to where they are, and your coach is someone who will give you the tools to help you or to facilitate you to get to where your mentor is. So I think that has been a really fruitful discussion in our second episode, and just unpacking more around a personal board of directors.
Can I say one more thing before we finish, Vicky?
Yes, sure.
I think one thing I've realized with mentors and coaches is when you get to a certain, I know we'll be talking about our audience as you are starting off, you are mid-level as like you and me, and then you're at your peak. I've realized that people who are at their peak, they really love mentoring. At least if they're leaders, they really love mentoring. And in terms of taking charge, I'd say it's very strange for you to actually reach out to somebody and then tell them, hey, by the way, I really like what you have actually done with this particular thing. I quite don't understand it. I'd love to be able to get together so that I learn from you. You know that statement,
Yes.
learn from you.
Yes.
Yeah? And then you're like, okay, then you take charge by setting up the place. You are, what do you call it? Paying for the coffee,
Yes.
the beer, or
Yes.
whatever it is. You've taken charge. Trust me, who will say no to that?
No one would, and that's a very good question. Good idea, Dennis. Because most of the time we say someone is our mentor, but they don't actually know they are mentoring you. So you need to approach the person, tell them what area of support you need, and 100% of the time, the mentors will be glad to hold your hand.
Yeah, because it gives people a good feeling.
Yes.
And so, if you rely on them to actually follow up on you, come on, that relationship is already broken.
Absolutely.
But if you are very intentional about reaching out and saying, hey, I need this. And as you say, you want to be able to collapse this experience and time. Who doesn't want to grow the next person? Reach out. Reach out. No matter how shy you are, just reach out.
Yeah.
Everybody who's older, who's at the peak of their career, or who's better off, who's not better off, who's ahead of you at the moment in terms of the career, will always want to reach out and talk to you.
Yeah, and before we wrap up, Dennis, how would our audience reach out to their mentor? Because I know there are different ways or different channels that you can reach to your mentor. And maybe you can shed more light. Is it through LinkedIn, through conferences? For you, like for instance, how did you reach out to your mentor?
I didn't actually. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
But I'd say it's intentionality at the end of the day. For me, I've got into that stage where I've realized relationships are very important, and those relationships have to be managed. And how you manage them is, for me, on a weekly basis, I go through a list of many people. And I ask myself, who am I going to meet this week? And I have do I need to share my secrets? Oh, yeah. I have a couple of scripts where I'll just throw out and say, hey, by the way, we've not got up in a long time. Let's catch up when you have time. Does this work for you? Right?
Yeah.
Then you wait. If it's not responded to, it's fine. But just that intentionality, people are going to reach out. Unless they're just terrible people, quote unquote, they're going to reach out. And in so doing, you just manage those relationships. So I think for me, take initiative. So it can be LinkedIn. Anybody, I think this, I forget the name, I'll put it in the show notes. But there is also a system. There are people you can send WhatsApp to if you're close to them. If you are a bit further off, send a LinkedIn. Right? If you are way, there's LinkedIn, then LinkedIn graduates to text.
Yes.
And then text gets to WhatsApp.
Yes.
If you're WhatsApp friends, now you're in a good place, Yeah. So there should be a system that works very well.
I like that, Dennis, and maybe just even as we wrap up to our audience, as you identify a mentor, please, as you reach out, be very specific in terms of the area of support that you need. Normally, as you start, it can be quite tricky because you never know whether they'll respond with a yes or no. But once you crack that and you've got their attention, then subsequent meetups is going to be easy. So the thing is, be very specific. Tell them what you want. Don't just say hi and keep quiet. Hi, tell them what area of support you need, and for sure they'll hold your hand. Great. We hope this episode has been helpful to you in continuing your learning and growth journey. If you have any questions, reach out to us directly, preferably on LinkedIn under Victorine Ngetich or Dennis Nyanja, or Saved by Nobel on our socials, that is the Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Also share this episode with someone who you think would benefit from it, and remember to give us a 5-star rating and review wherever you got this podcast. That's how you help us to get the word out there. Hope you've been saved by Nobel. We'll see you on the next one.